Listen up 12s because the hunt for another ring has officially begun and the energy in Seattle is reaching a boiling point right now. We are the kings of the mountain after that incredible title run, but the target on our back is massive and the work for 2026 starts today. Rookie minicamp was just the spark that lit the fuse, but now we are hitting the voluntary OTAs and the heat is rising in the facility. This changes everything we thought about the roster stability because the competition is going to be absolutely explosive. We are building this tribe together and we need your voice, so like and subscribe to help us hit 1,000 members today. The protection of our crown starts deep in the trenches. And that brings us straight to the most controversial name on the offensive line right now, which is Anthony Bradford. This man is facing the biggest test of his career as we transition into a new era under our new offensive coordinator, Brian Fleury. We all felt that sting when Clint Kubiak took the head coaching job with the Raiders after our Super Bowl victory, and now Fleury is the one tasked with installing a vision that keeps us on top. It is a fresh start for the entire unit, but for Bradford the pressure is reaching a ridiculous level because his performance last season was a total roller coaster that kept us all on edge. We saw his overall grade from PFF climb slightly to a 50.6, but the real nightmare is in his pass protection numbers, which cratered to a 40.8. That is a terrifying statistic for a team trying to repeat as champions and protect our franchise quarterback from elite pass rushers. The only thing that truly saved his job was an incredible jump in his discipline on the field. Back in 2024, he was a penalty machine with 10 flags and limited snaps, but this past season he played over 1,000 snaps and only had 4 accepted penalties. That shows a level of grit and focus that we love to see in Seattle, but the question remains if it will be enough to keep the Wolves at bay. I am looking directly at the rookie Bo Stevens because he is hungry and he is waiting for any sign of weakness during these OTAs. Do you really trust Bradford to hold the line when the season kicks off, or are you ready to see what the young blood can do in this new system? This is the raw truth of life in the NFL because nobody cares about your potential if you cannot keep the pocket clean. Fleury is going to be watching every single rep to see if Bradford can finally find that consistency in his footwork. If he cannot fix those issues, he might find himself buried on the depth chart before we even get to the mandatory sessions in June. We need warriors up front, and the battle for the guard spot is going to be a bloodbath. But wait, because things are getting even crazier when you look at our secondary, and the landscape has completely shifted since we lifted that trophy. We all felt a hole in our hearts when Rick Woolen walked away in free agency, and it felt like a massive piece of our identity was gone. But here is the raw truth that the critics are missing, because the front office was incredibly patient during the draft process. They waited until the 99th overall pick to grab Julian Neal out of Arkansas, and then they went on a late-round spree that changed the room. They brought in Andre Fuller and Michael Dansby in the final round, and that has put Nehemiah Pritchett on high alert. This is a guy we took in the 5th round back in 2024, and his trajectory is heading in a direction that honestly scares me. His snap count dropped from over 150 down to just 91 this past season, and that tells you everything about the coaching staff losing faith in his development. Now he is surrounded by 3 hungry young prospects who are all fighting for his life on this roster, and it is a nightmare scenario for him. Pritchett has to realize that his calling card has to be special teams right now if he wants to survive the final cuts. If he cannot prove he is a vastly superior option on those coverage units compared to Neal or Fuller, he might be looking for a new home very soon. It is a brutal business, and we are seeing it play out in real time on the practice fields in Renton. Can he find that fire again, or is he just another draft pick that will fade away into the background of Seahawks history? The competition in the defensive backfield is legendary in this city, and we expect greatness from every single man who wears the jersey. Pritchett needs to show up to OTAs with a chip on his shoulder the size of Mount Rainier, or he will be left behind. The rookies are not here to make friends, they are here to take jobs, and the tension in that meeting room must be thick enough to cut with a knife. I am worried about his future, but the team always comes first. Now we have to pivot to the backfield, because this is where the heart of our offense lies, and the change here is absolutely historic. Losing Kenneth Walker III to the Kansas City Chiefs was a punch to the gut for every single one of us in the 12th man. He was a cornerstone of our success, but we moved quickly and brought in a physical runner in Emmanuel Wilson who spent his time grinding with the Green Bay Packers. Wilson is a total wild card for this offense because his numbers are actually quite respectable with over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns in his career. He averages 4.5 yards per carry, which is exactly the kind of efficiency we need to keep the chains moving and punish defenses. But the competition he is walking into is nothing short of a war zone, because he is joining a committee led by the electric Jadarian Price. We also cannot forget about the massive comeback story of Zach Charbonnet, who is fighting his way back from that torn ACL. Every report coming out of the facility says he is progressing well in rehab, but we know how grueling that process can be for a power runner. This leaves Wilson fighting for that crucial third spot on the depth chart, and he cannot afford to have a single bad day at the office. There is another name you need to remember, and that is George Holani, because he has shown massive promise and a high motor in the past. Holani is the kind of player who could make this a total disaster for Wilson if the veteran does not show up with high energy from the very first whistle. Are we looking at a redemption arc for Wilson, or is he just a temporary fix while the younger guys develop their game? It is a high-stakes game of musical chairs, and when the music stops, someone is going to be left without a roster spot. I want to believe Wilson can be that physical presence we need in the fourth quarter to close out games. He has the size and the experience, but the Seahawks' backfield is a place where only the strongest survive. We need that dog mentality back in the running game to support our defense. I am losing my mind just thinking about the intensity of these voluntary workouts because people think they do not matter, but they are completely wrong. Seriously, this is where the chemistry is forged, and where Brian Fleury decides which players he can actually trust when the game is on the line in the playoffs. It is unbelievable how much can change in just a few weeks of non-contact practice, because the coaches are looking at the mental side of the game. You see the guys who stayed in world-class shape, and you see the guys who spent too much time celebrating the Super Bowl win. I have a theory that the coaching staff is actually looking to get much younger and more aggressive in the secondary, which is why Nehemiah Pritchett is in such a dangerous position. They want that fast and violent style that defined our championship run, and they will not hesitate to cut a veteran if a rookie shows more heart. It is a cutthroat environment, but that is exactly why we are the best in the world right now. We do not accept mediocrity, and we certainly do not accept players who are trending downwards like Bradford or Pritchett. You have to wonder if the locker room is feeling that same tension right now as they look around and see all these new faces trying to take their snaps. It is a mix of pure excitement and deep anxiety for these players because their entire livelihoods are on the line this month. I am telling you now that we are going to see some shocking moves before we even get to the mandatory minicamp. The competition is the highest it has been in years, and that is exactly how it should be for a team with our legacy. We are not just looking to compete, we are looking to dominate every single opponent on the schedule. This is about the culture of Seattle and the relentless pursuit of greatness that defines our entire city. I want players who are obsessed with winning and who will do anything to keep that trophy in our building. These OTAs are the foundation of everything we want to achieve in 2026, and the pressure is only going to get higher from here. When you wrap your head around all of these moving parts, you realize that the 2026 season is going to be one of the most pivotal chapters in the history of the Seattle Seahawks. We have the talent, and we have the championship momentum, but the transition from Kubiak to Fleury is the giant question mark hanging over the entire organization. We are watching the evolution of our roster in real time, and it is both terrifying and beautiful to behold as a fan. Whether it is Anthony Bradford fighting to save his career on the line or Emmanuel Wilson trying to fill the massive shoes of Kenneth Walker, we are in for a wild ride. I want to see your fire and your passion in the comments below, because this is our team and this is our journey together. Do you think Bradford can finally turn the corner and become the protector we need, or is it time for Bo Stevens to take over that guard spot for good? Are you worried about the backfield committee, or do you trust Wilson to be the veteran leader we need in that room? We are building something legendary here, and I want you to be a part of it every single step of the way as we hunt for another ring. We are pushing hard for that 1,000 subscriber mark, and your support is the fuel that keeps this channel moving forward. Hit that like button if you believe we are heading for a repeat, and subscribe to join the most passionate tribe in the NFL today. We are the 12s, and we never back down from a challenge no matter how much the roster changes. This is our year to prove that the championship was not a fluke but the start of a dynasty that will be remembered for decades. I will be here tracking every single move and every practice report as we head into the summer. Stay loud and stay proud, because the Seahawks are just getting started on this path to glory. I cannot wait to read your takes and see your predictions. Go Hawks!